Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Oh. Close my door really fast. Really need to clean out my workspace. Okay. So, let's see. So, you guys may have seen on the message board. Well, not the message board. You guys may have seen on the calendar section of our site that today was going to be a oh gosh, what's going on? There we go. So you might have seen that today we are going to be drawing our list of original characters. But today I decided that we were going to do something different. Since, well, we're still going to be drawing a lot of original characters, but since it requires such a long list of them, we're not just going to be drawing all of them in one straight go. We are going to be timing ourselves and setting up a little bit of a challenge. We are going to see how much of them we can draw in 15 minutes. $15 on them per piece, not in whole. I mean, if I could, I'd spend all day on these things. But it's pretty obvious that I just plain old can't. 15 minutes on them per piece, plus a little bit of talking time in between each of them. That should... And since I'm covering my main squad here, that should... Got 6 main characters here. That should give us plenty of time to go into each of them and their backstories and their whole characters before the end of this thing is up. Now, of course, you're probably asking main characters of what what are these characters supposed to be doing? Is there some sort of story here? Well, as a matter of fact, there kind of is. This is sort of a fun one that I've been working on for quite some time. Let's see, gosh, what am I trying to say here? One of the big centerpieces that I've been trying to put on my blog, it's this is why you do some prep before you set these things up. One of the big centerpieces that I've been putting on this blog is this image here. And it's not just because it's a cool image, or it looks pretty, or it took a lot of work to get into, all of which are true. This is because this is supposed to be the main setting where... This is the main setting that I was inspired to put my characters in. The title up here, as title of this piece is Unison. Now this is the capital city of sort of a large intergalactic civilization. Come on, this is running very slowly today. Now, it's not just intergalactic, it is interdimensional. Which means that the whole thing is founded on scientific integrity and discovery. Now, of course, you might be thinking that this looks a lot like the huge monolithic structures of Blade Runner, which is a whole story about how bad these gigantic cities and civilizations are. And yes, that's true. Part of what I'm going to be talking about in the story is all facets of this society, how the ups and downs, and my character's relationships with it. But this is just an overview and a stream that's... The overview itself is only supposed to take a couple of minutes. And this part here is more about the characters. So, let's see, how much time we have. Let's see, we've been going on for about 10 minutes, so let's dive right in. These are just going to be quick sketches, although I would love to finish all these portraits up in my free time to sort of get this, to finally get this story off the ground. It's been circulating ahead of for a long time, and it'll be fun to finally get something solid and firm off of it onto the internet and see what's going on. Not see what's going on, just see how it does. Although I would like to figure out what's going on by just how slow this is being. Let's see, let's get rid of this really fast. Let's see, is that better? Yes. So, as I said, 6 characters were sort of at the heart of this big story that I've been planning. It's actually been sort of going on since the whole start of the blog. I really should have been paying more attention to it now up until this point. Requiem Divaci. Ignore my terrible handwriting. And shoot, if I found my notes on these characters, I'd be able to remember the name of this last one. I think his... I think his name was something along the lines of... Well, I guess since I'm putting it out there now, that's what his name is. Alright. Let's see how much of this character I can draw in 15 minutes. Alright, and go. Gonna start with this guy. He's definitely the main character of this all, since he shares his name with the site. Let's see. That's not what I meant to do. Ah, shoot. I messed up my layers. That's okay, this is a sketch. We'll run with it. That looks weird. This is what you look like when you're trying to be a professional. Now you guys have seen a million drawings of this guy, so I guess it's about time I finally indulged a little bit on his personality. He himself is probably not the smartest member of his own crew. But he is the one that got them all together. He is a human, he's born on Earth, and he loves to explore. And of course, when he found out about Unison, this whole interdimensional monolith of a civilization that's been around for 1 billion years and covers everything within 1 billion miles. Oh gosh, this is awful. He just, of course, realized that he had to go and see it all. But he couldn't do it alone, and he couldn't do it without help. He couldn't do it without the gear, which he just loves to sort of flaunt around. And of course, as we're supposed to see later on, he just couldn't do it without getting himself into a heap of trouble. By the way, guys, I hope you don't mind the fan going off in the background, but for some reason today in my room it's very, very hot, so I just had to. So I just had to take out the fan and Now, I am drawing this character sort of in the classic suit of armor that I first introduced him in. Oh gosh, I put it in the wrong layers again, didn't I? Okay. Now, I would like to create a series where it's just him, exploring the whole universe, just oohing and eyeing at everything. But for one thing, even though he is, I would say, more of a pacifist, that's just not in his character to not cause issues. I mean, for as long as I can remember, I've been putting this guy in a DreamWorks face. The DreamWorks face. Whole cocky one eyebrow up thing, knowing, oh yeah, he's gonna cause some trouble. And for another thing, not to sound like a pessimist, but that's just not how the universe works. Oh gosh. If only I could remember what buttons on my pad did which. another reason I decided to give him a new outfit besides this power armor thing is because, for one, it's really complicated to drop metal armor over and over and over again, which I was going to have to do no matter what medium I decided to put this character in. But I thought it would be I thought it would be weird if I just gave this guy this mechanical power armor with all these weird, impossible joints to fit into without any real explanation. You know, as far as I've decided, there hasn't been any real traumatic event in his past, in which case that would have cost him all of his limbs. So I thought I'd make something to show, hey, he isn't. Things haven't gone so horribly in his life that I just wanted to show him, in a more relaxed state. Alright, that's enough for that character. Let's move on to our second character. Requiem Divaci. Now this is another one that I definitely have drawn before. Let's see if I have her on this computer. Well, I mean, there's this drawing right here, but that was done a long time ago, and she's definitely changed her outfit since then. Let's see if... Yeah, I have a little bit of time. Let's see if I can find her on our main site. Alright. So yeah, this character. And yes, this one was also drawn a long time ago before I knew all the things that I do now about character art and such. But to some extent, I think I do like the basics of the outfit, the overall color scheme and such. Alright, let's get started on this character. And go. This character, she's definitely much smarter than Weija is. And even though you'd think that she'd be more reserved as such, she's actually much more of a people person. What happened to me? I used to be good at drawing. Oops. Again, she also has a sort of tactical outfit that she needs in certain situations. And before anybody asks, although yes, she's the only other human I have on the team, I currently do not have any plans with her and Weija at this moment. Their relationship at this point is entirely professional. Which, if this were any other series, would probably mean that they'd have this big romantic kiss at the end. But again, that's not quite this series. Her expertise is... Let's see, while Wasia is definitely more of a strategist, or more of an all-around character. Because he's the hero, he needs to be that bland. She is one of the best quantum mechanic to come out of Earth. See, dramatic hero pose, looking into some unknown thing past the end of the horizon. Ah. Okay, looking good so far, looking good so far. Let's see, let's bring up that photo just so we have some reference for the colors and such. There we go. Well, I said that these two main characters aren't romantically involved in any way. I did provide them with a bit of history. Oh, those are ugly lips. I never got the lips down. She is one of the first characters that Wasia met on his big foray into the known universe. she was probably the main person that helped him get into Unison in the first place. It's a big city and they don't take just anybody. Getting there takes a lot of preparation and a lot of paperwork. Trim down those biceps a little bit. I mean, she's strong, I just don't want her arms to explode. Another thing that I'm working on in terms of, just getting human anatomy done in general. In some ways it's easy to... In some ways it's too easy to draw somebody just... with an overbearing muscle mass. It's cool on a few characters, but not everybody you meet in the street does have. Although, one thing that I forgot to consider when I was working on this sketch was use. One thing that I forgot to include in this sketch was her own creative weapon. I thought it'd be fun to give all these characters, way back when I wanted this to be a big Marvel-esque action movie, I thought it'd be fun to give them something a little more exciting than just guns and stock fantasy weapons. So, for Requiem, I gave her some cool little wristbands here that shoot out these sort of metallic whips. Now, of course, those have all their own uses. You can use them to swing across gaps. You can use them to actually whip somebody, and since they're supposed to retract from these things, you can use them to grapple in and out. Let's see if I can fix this before time's up. Nope. I guess she'll look like that until the final edit then. Okay, let's see if we can get one more character in before... before we go in. Let's go with... let's go with Zacharias. Now he's our first non-human character that we're going through. And he actually introduces a couple interesting conundrums into the whole... into this whole civilization thing. Now let's go. What's going on here? Oh. That's not good. Why did this just stop working all of a sudden? Shoot. That is not good. What? I'll get back in just a few minutes and we'll see what's going on with this whole thing. Okay, guys, I am back. Not quite sure what happened there, but Photoshop. It wasn't my tablet, it was in Photoshop, but just all of a sudden I had to restart it. So, anyways, let's get back to drawing our characters. One thing I should say really fast is that robot character that I drew that robot face that I drew last week for the Twitch setup stream. Yeah, that wasn't just any robot face. That was this robot's face. Yay! Now, one quick thing I want to say about this robot is that Yes, while he is a machine, he wasn't exactly built per se. He actually evolved naturally on a planet called Mecha. Of course, I named that before I realized that Mecha was an actual place on Earth, so it might be a little less problematic to call something like Mechan or Mechite or something. I don't know, it's a work in progress. That's what these streams are for, aren't they? And of course, now you can see what I mean when I say that he actually brings up some really interesting conundrums for simply just simply being in the place that he is. Because here he is, a naturally evolved robot, when all of a sudden he comes to the most popular place in the universe and sees that all of these artificially created robots are there. Robots that have absolutely no qualms with being in subservient positions that they are in. And he knows that technically he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be so upset about it, and yet, you know, there's still something. There's still something that's very eerie about it all to him. So yeah, despite being the most massive member of the team, he's because of problems like that, he's actually the most reserved, the quietest, the one who speaks at the least. Which is actually very interesting because there's actually a member of the team here that doesn't even have a mouth. And of course, saying out loud, it really sort of brings to light some of the wider implications that this story in general has. Because this story here is supposed to be more of the one about uh, sort of the idea of the technological singularity. You know, the idea of humanity finally the idea of finally coming across some technology that is as smart or smarter than humans. See, I don't like that hand shape so much. Let's. There we go. That's a robot hand. Maybe I should have chosen a design that's easier to sketch. Oh, I actually finished the outline of this one earlier than the other ones. Now, of course, like I said, this isn't the finals. This isn't going to be the final image. These are just sketches to show you the idea of these characters, the general blocking, seeing what all these guys look like in a silhouette. But let's see, since it took us a little bit of a gosh, what am I trying to say? Sorry, it just happens sometimes that I just get ahead of myself in saying these things. I think now would be a good time to, since we're having such a hard time just saying our words, now would be a good time to just take our quick little break. We're making good progress here, so I guess we'll be back in 10 minutes. And yeah, we'll start working on this bottom row here. See you all soon. Hope you all got a chance to stretch your legs, get up, walk around, get some food and water if you need it. Alright, now we're going to get back to drawing all of our characters. So far we have our main hero character, strategist, the people character, the quantum mechanist, and the walking ethical conundrum. Now, we are going to get further out into the universe and really explore some nice alien concepts with this character, Sharon Honrai. Sharon is an insectoid type character from a planet called Mirist. Now, one of the main features of Mirist is that it is... Oh, gosh, I forgot to start the timer. Now, one of the hallmarks of Mirist is that while its surface is entirely oceanic and to that end essentially impossible to explore, its interior is surprisingly empty. Not entirely empty, but something along the lines of 30% of its interior is... Oh gosh, why can't I draw this arm right? Something along the lines of 30% of its interior is made up of an elaborate cave system, which houses a wide variety of let's give her a little bit more breathing room. Oh, that actually works out pretty well there for the... Anyways, its nearly hollow interior helps host a pretty wide variety of bizarre exotic organisms. including this tribe here. I think I remember calling them the Kairok. Masters of the Discus. The way they throw them, they're actually incredibly good at creating perfect arcs to get around corners, which helped the early hunter-gatherer Kairoks immensely in the early days of their civilization. Now, when I say that one of our next characters doesn't necessarily have a mouth, I was talking about this one. Now, there's sort of a mouth there, but it doesn't have any vocal cords, so she cannot necessarily talk in the same way that you or I do. We're gonna get that nice curve there. She express she communicates in a very different way. Not quite psychism. Not quite not exactly through dance, not exactly through smell, but sort of this weird extrasensory combination of all three. Not all three yet. Of everything that we can see or sense. It sounds complicated, but she's actually quite eloquent in that way. She manages to get across what she needs to say very easily. Now, these giant spots here aren't necessarily eyes in the same way our eyes are. They are giant bioluminescent patches that are sort of part of her method of telling everything that she needs to. Now, you'd think, being underground, this character would be the geologist of the group. But that is actually something I forgot to say about this guy. This guy here, he grew up on a mining planet, so of course he knows the most about rocks and geology and planetary interiors and such. Sharon actually has a very different story. Her specialty is, believe it or not, astronomy. I just thought there was something oddly beautiful about a character that's been underground their entire lives and being so inspired by stories of stars and worlds outside of their own that, of course, that'd be the thing that they'd study and devote all their time to. Now again, these are more quick sketches than they are fully developed character portraits. By the time these go up on the website, I will be able to provide a much better idea of what form these alien anatomies actually take. But again, this is more for the silhouette, so that you guys can sort of just get an idea of what these characters are doing, see where they've been and who they are at a glance. Much harder to do with a six-limbed organism, as you can see. With her, I was sort of with this little appendage back here, I was sort of inspired by the whiptail scorpion. Although obviously her species no longer carries any venom in there. It is more just for show, although she can create quite a show of it if she wants to. Now, I know not a whole lot of people are viewing this right now, but if you come across this in our archives on YouTube, please feel free to leave any questions about these characters in the comments, or give us a follow on social media, Facebook, Twitter. We are working a comment section on our portfolio website, so hopefully you can contact us through there. But yeah, I had a lot of fun working on these characters. They have been sort of circling around my sketchbooks for a long time, and yeah, there is something sort of relieving to see these to see these finally put up in a place where people can watch them. I'm still not entirely sure what I'm going to do with them yet. I mean, I would like to tell this big grand space opera story with them. But I mean, in terms of media, webcomics, short films would be fun, but that's quite the undertaking. I don't have all of the animators or voice actors that I need to make that as great as it could be. But yeah, it's sort of fun just to see these guys up here. Anyways, so that's 15 minutes for that character. Now let's spend 15 minutes on this character. Reset. Now, like I said, these characters have sort of been circling around since the beginning of the blog, so this one isn't... This one I came up with before I had any idea of what Guardians of the Galaxy was doing. But I was thinking, hey, we have all these characters across the universe. Might as well have one of his companions be a dinosaur. Now, the idea of anthropomorphic dinosaurs was actually going around for quite some time on my site before I decided to put this guy in the group. You may remember, let's see, all the way towards the very beginning. Let's see if I can find that on the site. I had a few pieces connected to the storyline I was calling the Chronicles of the Caltagara. Look in all of its poorly photoshopped glory. This would actually be a pretty fun at the time. I know. But anyways, I thought, that would be a pretty fun one to sort of throw into the group. I started this site in 2011, around the same time the Marvel Cinematic Universe was starting up to sort of do its own thing. And so, there might have been some influence in that, there might have been that might have had something to do with me deciding to try and see how many of these worlds I could put together. But this was a lot more than just throwing it out there on a whim. Like I said, this is something that I've been working on for a long time, and I really want to see what type of stories I could explore with all these characters in this very dramatic setting. Wrong button. For instance, this character here, the biologist of the group, he's actually having some of the hardest time fitting in as sort of this group of some of the universe's best scientists. It's it's an interesting situation with him because he's certainly not the most dangerous animal in unison. There are tons of species from all over the universe. There's some of them are the average one is about a polar bear. And there are some from planets that are far more dangerous than late Cretaceous Earth. Situation where he's the smallest member of the team. His planet, or rather his dimension, is one It's one of the more recent additions to the whole unison lineup here. So really, he has quite the opposite problem of fitting in here, where it's really easy for a lot of people to go and utilize see him as the team pet. In all fairness, if you saw a dinosaur wandering around, I definitely would like to keep one as a pet. It's just that the simple fact of the matter is that he is not. He is an accomplice. Who knows a lot about the creatures of his home planet, as well as an unnatural ability to deduce animals, as well as an unnatural ability to deduce the habits and biology of other animals based off of their environment, ecosystem, and morphology. It's also the shortest member of the team, standing about, let's say, 2 feet high at the hip, or about 0.6 meters. And while he is and while of course one of the requisites for the group is that he sort of has to be a pacifist, he is a lot more chaotic than the others in the group. By no means evil, just much more of a troublemaker. Which is really easy, which is kind of hard to do when he has his claws out all the time. Very much a dromaeosaurid. Somewhat based off of Chirodon or Dromaeosaurus, but much more of his own species. I think I called him an Anthroporaptor. which is derived from the Greek for cultured raptor or human-like raptor. I'm not going to take that is okay because we only have a minute and a half left, so we'll have to save most of these fixes for the final renders. Now, if you guys would like to see me do this on stream, or the fixing up of these characters, I mean, if you'd like to see me do that on stream, or if you would like to wait until the next stream to see them done, or at least wait until I'm ready to see the final product, I could see both of them, but please, again, let me know in the comments or on Twitter or on Facebook or anything. I am really excited to hear your input. That's why I'm doing this. You know, I really want to see if these... I really want to see if these guys are actually... or if they're just sort of bouncing off. Alright. That's enough for that character. Let's move on to... let's move on to the final character in our lineup. Elgas. Let's go back in here and reset the timer and go. Now, at the beginning of the stream, you remember I was having kind of a hard time remembering the name of this character. That's because he is sort of a later addition to the team. And he's probably the least developed of the crew that I have. But with him, I really wanted to explore something a bit more unique in terms of this group. I noticed that a lot of the characters that I had been putting forward, they all had a lot more conventional body shapes, you know, very humanoid or at the very least, something that you can shake hands with. This one isn't quite... this one doesn't quite fit into that category. This one I really wanted to explore just how bizarre Unison would be. I mean, it's a... I mean, when you... time, you know, what are the odds that everything that you come across is going to look like a human? Actually, the odds are essentially nothing you come across is going to look like a human. Compatible with human customs or human interactability. I mean, you look at animals today, you look at animals today on Earth, we can't even really talk with most of them, let alone try to start it. Let alone try to start a vast civilization with them. Although this guy, he talk with us just fine. Folks are really smart. They found a way to talk with all sorts of crazy species. This one is from a planet called Back. Uh-oh. Guy on the wrong layer. And he is it took a time for the technology and culture to where it was, to where they could actually talk with him and talk to sort of bring them up to speed to just how absolutely bonkers massive the universe is. Gonna make that he's not just. And of course, both the fact that that means that technology is sort of the main way he's able to communicate with that technology is sort of the main way he's able to communicate with everybody in the universe. But he's also immensely great. Of course. That means he knows it inside and out. Now, of course, his uncanny ability with technology that recent addition to the team from from Oh yes, one thing that I should talk about this guy in terms of his anatomy. First assumption when a lot of people meet him is that that mouth of his is a beak, much like a bird's beak, but it doesn't open with a single jaw like ours does, or like a bird's does. Those are actually two sets of mandibles that open out like this. Which actually makes him the messiest eater of the group, much to his own dismay. Let's see, while the timer's still running down, I realized that the size difference in all of these, especially when you put them all like these, is very unnoticeable. So let's go through and... oh, that looks really bad without... there we go. Let's see. Weija and Divaci, they're the two humans of the group, so their size can be pretty standard. Mechans, of course, are Titanic. He's not ultra Titanic like some of the creatures around the universe are. But of course, since he's a mining robot, he's actually used to the really heavy lifting work. So he starts out at a not starts out. He comes in at a pretty hefty 11'7", which is a little under 3 meters for all the people viewing this in non-United States countries. Sharon is a much more manageable 7'2". We already covered Calcifer. He's a dinosaur, and their species doesn't get much bigger than 2'4". And Elgas, he actually comes up. He's actually another really interesting case because he, since he doesn't have legs and is flying all the time, he doesn't really have. He's actually a little bit harder to nail down in terms of just his size. So let's go with his wingspan. His wings are about 7 feet across. And from the tip of his snout to the tip of his tail, he sits at a pretty solid just underneath 5 feet. And now you have a pretty good idea of, well, hopefully anyways, you have a pretty solid idea of just how these characters would fit together in a room. By the way, Zacharias, that goes up to the tip of his shoulder pad here. At this height, at the height of his, at the top of his dome here, he's roughly 9 feet. Which means that if he tucks in his shoulders a bit, he could probably fit into most doorways. On Earth, anyways. But again, he's on unison where is much larger. It seems like I ran down the counter, and it is 8:07, so that is definitely all the time that I have left. Thanks again, guys, for joining the stream, or much more likely viewing this on the archives on our YouTube. If you liked what you saw here, feel free to follow us on social media for more, or visit our website, aidenwaja.com, or go to our more professional portfolio at Aidenwaja Art. Anyways, that's the end of the stream. Hope you like what you saw here, and I will see you next week around this time. Take care of yourselves, and have a great week. Bye-bye.